What is up, you guys? Welcome back to Mini TV Reviews. I am your host, Mo, and tonight, y'all, we are doing something new. Okay, so I told y'all we are getting rid of a couple of shows. They are coming to an end, unfortunately, and so we are going to be ushering in some new shows, or returning shows, that is. And this is one of them. We are going to be discussing Reasonable Doubt, y'all. This is season 2, episode 1, titled Can I Live? I hope you guys have been having a wonderful, wonderful week thus far. All right. Tomorrow's hump day. So y'all know we got a couple more days to grind this thing out, and then it's back to the weekend. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the synopsis real quick, and then we're going to get right into the episode. So the synopsis for this one is: after receiving terrible news from a close friend, Jax Stewart returns to work sooner than she expected, causing her to feel pressure from work, her friends, and Lewis. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into it because we got a couple more shows to review tonight. So we start the episode off with Jax waking up in bed next to Lewis. Now, y'all remember from the last season that this was the couple to be, okay? The power couple that was struggling, okay? They were struggling to keep it all together for not only themselves, but for them kids as well, okay? And so she wakes up next to him, and Chanel, her friend, is actually standing over her husband, JT, as he's begging for her to call for help. Okay, so we see both men apologize. So there's two scenes happening at once. Jax is waking up next to Lewis, and Chanel is standing over JT. JT is apologizing to Chanel for, abusing her, and Lewis is apologizing to Jax because he has to leave. Okay. Apparently he has been her comfort as of late, because y'all remember at the end of last season, she had a fatal attraction, y'all. Okay. Her boo thing that she was having casual peen appointments with turned crazy on her, and he kidnapped her, and instead of him taking her out, he took himself out right in front of her. And she's just been traumatized by the whole thing, rightfully so. And so he's been there. He's been her rock as of late. And so he's apologizing to her for leaving. And so JT is like, baby, please, 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 please call for some help. I am fading fast. And as soon as he says that, y'all, their head lay down and them eyes go glazed. All right. And we see him leave this world. He is gone. As Chanel coldly watches this happen, she don't say nothing. Now, you could feel a way about it on both ends, okay? But Chanel is really, truly the victim here, okay? Because we know that he was whooping up on her he was real abusive to her last year. Okay, we didn't see him physically hit her last year, but he was very much verbally abusive to her. And even had took off in the car, and then he had came back to get her. It was just toxic, y'all. So anyway, Jax goes to therapy, and it seems that she's been able to work through most of her trauma involving Damien and the kidnapping. And she's gotten into a better routine with the kids, and she actually thinks that she may be able to go back to work soon. I think she's ready. And so the doctor actually clears her, but she reminds her to make sure that she takes care of herself and know when to take a break, and also when to ask for help. And so she was like, okay, I think I can do this. And so before she parts ways with her, she also suggests probably starting that anxiety medicine that she prescribed her before she goes back to work. Because, back to those old triggers, it can cause some things to happen. And so we want to make sure that we got that medication in your system and on board before you go back to those, okay? So she goes to do her daily workout when she gets this call from Chanel. And she's tossed right back into the place that she just clawed herself out from. Now, this is the phone call that we saw at the very end of last season where Chanel was explaining what happened to JT. And now she's back to the madness, okay? So she arrives at the house and notifies Lewis about what happened before she goes in. And, he's trying to check in on her and make sure that she's okay, because she has been through a lot these last couple of months. And so he says that he'll grab the kids from school, And she immediately gets off the phone and goes into lawyer mode. Okay. She puts on her little booties and she wants to make sure that she doesn't compromise any of the evidence when she comes in. She ends up seeing JT's body and is immediately taken back to what happened with Damien. Okay. And then she finally sees Chanel. And of course, she goes to console her. And Chanel briefly tells Jax that she was leaving him for good this time and she was going to take the kids with her. And then out of nowhere, he started attacking her and she bopped him on the head with his trophy. And so she's concerned about the kids and who's going to be able to take care of them if all of this goes left. And Jax advises her, that the kids will be okay. We'll make sure that they straight. And they come over because they have to take pictures of her bruises and everything. And Jax advises her to go to the hospital after they do so. So once they get to the hospital, Jax is on the brink of having an anxiety attack because she has not yet taken that medication. But her friends Sally and Autumn come in and obviously is curbed, right? And so they said that the price is already outside and Sally tries to go in and talk to Chanel. And while she's trying to do that, Autumn is actually talking to Jackson. She's just completely stunned about all of this. Now, she knew that their relationship wasn't in a great spot, but not to this extreme. I mean, this is crazy. All it takes is that one time, though. All it takes is that one bad day, that one bad decision, and then boom, that could be your life. But they can conclude that this likely isn't the first time that he's attacked her, seeing as how he went to trying to strangle her. Jax can feel the walls are closing in, and she was like, look, Autumn, I gotta go. Okay, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get home. Because she doesn't want to do this in front of her friends. Because, Jax is still considered one of the stronger ones, okay? She know how to keep her stuff together. And just as she's finna get ready to take off, Sally actually comes back saying that it's some officers in there talking to Chanel, so that's why she couldn't. So she was like, oh, hell no. Let me go in here and see what's going on. So she puts aside her feelings again to come to her bestie's rescue. And when she goes in there, she makes sure that they had read her rights and tell them that the next time that they talk to her, that she needs to have her lawyer present. And Chanel happily assigns that role to none other than Jax herself. Skirt, skirt. Say what? No, no, ma'am. I wasn't referring to myself. I was referring to the lawyer that you're gonna have to hire or that I can recommend to you. I wasn't talking about me being your lawyer. That's a conflict of interest, girl. And a conflict of interest for my mental as well. And so she tells Jax that she only told them because Jax made them leave. Apparently they had gotten all the information that they needed as soon as they saw her lawyer come in. So she tells Jax that she only told them what happened leading up to the incident, and that's all the questions that they were able to squeeze out of her. So back at home, Jax finally has that panic attack that she was able to stall out earlier. But thankfully, Lewis is there to support her through it, and walk her through it and talk her down and calm her down. And he ends up giving her her medication. Thankfully, he went to go fill the prescription while he was out. Man, I'm telling Lewis has his flaws, don't get me wrong. But when it's time to come through in the clutch, he come through in the clutch, okay? So after calming down, she reveals to him that she's Chanel's lawyer because that's what Chanel wanted. And I mean, who else is going to do it? That's her best friend, okay? But she says that this should be really quick. It should be an open and shut self-defense case. We'll get this done in about a week. It should be wrapped up soon. And he's like, girl, what? You literally just got meds filled for an anxiety disorder. Somebody else needs to do this job, and it damn sure ain't gonna be you, okay? He reminds her about their couples therapy session in a few days, and she combatively tells him that she'll be able to do both things like I've been doing all these years without your assistance. And so she ends up telling him, like, just go home, okay? Because I know that's where you would rather be. He was like, no, I would rather be here with you, but I'm not trying to start a fight. And so he ends up going home. And I was like, damn, Jax, why you going back to all this self-sabotage and stuff, okay? Why don't you choose peace and happiness and love versus trying to push that man away when all he want to do is love you, girl? That's it. Okay? That's all he want. And so we get a peek into Jack's mental her playlist, y'all. I'm telling you, like, I know random songs be popping up in my head, but her playlist to a T, okay? Chef's kiss. So she wakes up the next morning, okay, by herself, cold side over there where Lewis usually sleeps. And we hear Jeezy's I Need a Vacation. Okay, playing before she even get out the bed. Instead of taking a meds, she decides to chain smoke to calm her nerves. And I'm just like, girl, does the scent not get in your hair? I mean, I know people spray and stuff like that. You know, they do other things to kind of mask the smell, but I just couldn't. Okay. Um, no shade to anybody that does, but I just couldn't. So she chain smokes to calm her nerves, and so she finally goes back to the office, and Crystal and Daniel are so excited to have her back. And our girl is giving out hugs too. Girl, you need to be away a lot more. Okay, if you coming back with hugs. And so she makes plans to go to the DA's office later to speak to Mike because you know they used to be her homie from around the way about Chanel's case. So in the morning meeting, she tries to tell her partners that she's hoping to scale back her billable hours to spend more time with her family, you know, and still kind of continue her road to recovery from all the traumatic events. But since they seen her walk through the door, all they seeing is dollar signs from her. Cause one of the partners was like, "Didn't HR clear you to come back?" And she was like, "I mean, yeah." And he was like, "So are you saying that you want to quit or no?" And she was like, "No, I don't want to quit." And so he was like, "Oh, okay, then you can work this case or whatever other case that may find its way into your lap." So then, y'all, after he said that, he didn't say all of that, but that's basically what he was saying, y'all. Khaleesi's I Hate You So Much started playing, and I was like, yeah, that's right on cue. The playlist is fantastic. So Jax ends up stopping by Dr. Culver's. Now, this is the psychiatrist that she had hired to do Chanel's psych eval, right? And so she's checking on to see how Chanel was doing. And Dr. Culver ends up revealing that Chanel has survivor's remorse and that she's still terrified of JT despite knowing that he's dead and gone. So in another part of town, Naima and Lewis are talking, and they're over there by Jax's office. And so Lewis was like, "Hey, baby girl, do you want to stop by and see your mom real quick?" And she was like, "Hell no, And so then he asked her, was she excited to how did she feel about her mom returning to work? And she was like, "Man, I am stoked, okay, because mama is always up in my business. She came in there and she did a whole paper for me." And I was like, "Girl, you wouldn't want your mom to do one of your papers?" But apparently this is cramping her style, and so she's ready for her mama to come back to work. Now, she did also ask him about the rumors and if they were true about Chanel killing JT, and he was like, "Girl, yes, it is true. Okay, I don't want you to hear from anybody else, so please stop looking at whatever you see on the internet. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Yes, it is true, but things were very, very complicated, as life usually is." And so, back to Jax. Jax ends up stopping by Mike's, and he's moved on to the affluent part of town, but it never hurts to bring donuts to an old friend. And so she bought him some Randy's donuts, and while she's there and he's trying to chow down on these donuts, she ends up getting an update from him that they're still investigating the case. But if it is indeed self-defense, like Jax believes it is, it shouldn't be an issue to work out a deal. So as they're talking about this, y'all, Lucy Wago comes in, and they nicknamed her Wago the Warrior because she is fierce. Okay. She's a newbie apparently that came from up north, but she has done her most recent years in Vegas, and now she's a transplant, and she's been there for about a little bit under a year. But she seems very like by the book. Y'all, Jax had asked her, did she want a donut? And she was like, no, because we don't take gifts from like other governmental offices or something like that. And I was like, girl, it's a damn donut. Okay. I could see if you was like, girl, no, it's not my cheat day, but okay, girl. So later on, Lewis ends up running into Jax at this little smoothie shop after his workout, and he was like, "Hey, so the nanny got the kids until later on. You ain't doing nothing. I ain't doing nothing. Let's sit down and have some lunch." And so she was like, "Okay." So as soon as he went to go grab the table, y'all, she ended up getting a phone call from Daniel, and he gives her an update from the ME's office. So it turns out, y'all, that Chanel had waited 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours to call 911. And based on the lividity of his body, you know how like when the blood be pooling and stuff like that after you pass away. Um, Based on the lividity of his body, they also concluded that she moved his body, y'all. And so she goes to Chanel's. Clearly, the lunch date was canceled. Okay, she had to go right away. So she goes to Chanel's with Daniel to question her about these new details. And Chanel was in shock. That's what she said. She was like, I didn't even realize how much time had passed. I was just scared for my life. I went to the closet and I hid for a really long time. And then when I came out, I called you and then I called 911. And so then she was like, hold on, wait a minute. What did you tell the officers? Because didn't you tell them the exact opposite? Didn't you tell them that you called 911 first and then you called me? And she was like, girl, I don't remember. It was a blur. It all happened so fast. And so then she also said that she moved his body. She just flipped him over to make sure that he was dead. And I was like, damn, I get it, but it don't look good for you. And so because of these developments and JT being a very high profile celebrity football player, they may want to ensure that maximum justice is served on his behalf. And so she agrees to whatever sentence Jax can get that's the best for her. And then Jax goes home. Now, she falls asleep, but then she wakes up in a panic and rushes. She wakes up in a panic. And I'm not sure if she takes the medication or not, but she ends up closing the medicine cabinet. So then later on, she rushes to couples counseling. And clearly she's running behind. They were supposed to be there at a specific time, and she's late as hell. And then when she sits down, y'all, she was like, because the therapist was like, oh, well, it's okay that you late. I don't have anybody behind y'all right away. So, I mean, we can stay a little bit longer. She was like, oh, actually, no, we can't. I got to leave early. So you came late, but you got to leave early too? What type of progress are we supposed to be making, Jax? And so she keeps pushing her feelings to the side, right? And so in couples counseling, we clearly see all the cracks in their relationships. This is a blame game type of situation. This is a pissing contest about who hurt who first and how we getting back at each other. They're keeping score. And so clearly they've got work to do, but it's not an impossible feat to achieve as long as they work together. They both want to reconcile. So this is an uphill climb, y'all, but we can do it, okay? We're just going to have to dig our heels in a little deeper. So her mom calls as she's leaving therapy, and her mama is calling the gossip about the case. Now, it seems that the mama always kind of puts men on a pedestal. Now, in the last season, y'all remember that her stepdad passed away, but before he did, she started to remember all of these things from when she was younger and how he was like trying to groom her to like be a pedo on her, to like sexually abuse her and molest her. And so, she tried to tell her mama, and her mama was like, girl, you lying. And I was like, no, I don't like that mama. After that, I didn't like her. So mama calls, and this scenario is no different. She starts to talk about JT and how she always thought that he was such a kind-hearted, sweet young man, and she just never saw him being one that would be abusive to his spouse. Okay. But my question is, does anybody really know what goes on behind closed doors? They can show you whatever face they want you to see when you looking at them, but when they get behind closed doors, That's a whole different story. That mask come off, okay? Anywho, so after a few more minutes of this conversation being all about her mama, Jax ends up getting off the phone with her. So, she goes to see Mike again. And now, because of these new developments, she wants to see how serious this thing is possibly going to get. And he tells her that he's no longer working the case. And when she asks who's covering the case now, y'all, that beat from Ambitions of a Rider came on. And we saw old hard-faced Lucy holding a press conference. I was like, you know what? The playlist. Again. Chef's kiss. Like, it was perfect. And so as she's doing this press conference, she's letting them know that they're seeking a first-degree murder charge with no bail. That's what they want. Okay. And so as she's holding this press conference, we see Chanel get booked into prison. It's awful. So after the conference, Jax goes to confront Lucy and they have a verbal back and forth about the charges being hella excessive. Yeah, Jax gonna have a fight on her hands, y'all, because I don't even think she won the back and forth that they had. And she was like, girl, are you sure? Now, I heard that you was one of the best defense lawyers out there, but the deck is stacked. It's stacked for you, girl. And so she goes to visit Chanel to give her an update on the charges, but the arraignment is set for tomorrow. And so hopefully they'll be able to find out if she's going to get bail. And Chanel was like, if. And she was like, girl, it don't look good. Okay? I'm not going to lie to you. And so she tells her that the kids are good and she tells her to keep her head up. You got to stay strong in there. And we know that Jax cried in the car, y'all. She cried. That's a really hard place to be in. To find out that your best friend was getting abused at home. And she tried to get out of the situation, and the only way that she felt like she could get out was to take the abuser's life. And in doing so, there's a possibility that you're going to go to jail for the rest of yours, but you got kids to take care of. That's hard. So Lewis comes back to the house and he finds Jax outside smoking a cigarette. And she tells him that she started through and she has to be fully committed to Chanel's case if she's going to stand a chance, because things have changed. New details have emerged and it's not looking good. It's not looking as good as she thought it was going to be. It's not going to be as open and shut as she thought it was going to initially be. And so because of that, she is deciding to step aside and say yes to prioritizing her health and her family first. And she wants to really make sure that this thing works with Lewis and that she doesn't want to jeopardize what they build because of this case taking her away from her true focus, which is herself and her family. And so she's going to have to find somebody who cares just as much as she does. And then as Lewis is asking her, who does she have in mind? Because she was like, there's nobody at the office, but I think I might know somebody. Y'all, we see Mr. Handsome himself, Mr. Morris Chestnut, who's going by Corey in this show. And y'all, Corey is actively blowing out some lady's back as Danger is playing. Again, song selection, top tier. And so he says that he's gonna need a minute for the room when Jax calls him in. And oh, girl is looking at him like, really, Ninja? You really just gonna do me like that and then you gonna toss me out? Yeah, he gonna do that because the money is calling. And so the way that he says Jax's name makes it seem like they've shared their own times while listening to some songs on a really lengthy playlist, okay? But I guess we'll get to that story later on in the season. And after she fills him in, he says the same thing that she did when she got the call from Chanel. F. And that's the way the episode ends. It was really good, y'all. I enjoyed this first episode. Now they did drop 2 at a time, so y'all know I'm just gonna play catch up. Okay. Y'all will get the next episode this week and then we'll be caught up. Because I think the next episode drops on the 29th or something like that. So we gonna get caught up this week, but I'm super stoked that this show is back. I absolutely love this show. Oh, I never told y'all where y'all could find it. If you're just listening to my reviews just because, thank you. But if you actually want to watch the show, y'all, it's on Hulu. Okay. But that's all I have for now. Please let me know what you think about it. Do y'all think that she's gonna be able to that Corey's gonna be able to get Chanel off? Do we think that Corey and Jax may have a past? Okay. Let me know what y'all thought about it. Okay. You can reach me at Me and You TV Reviews on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also reach me at My TV Reviews Podcast without the S on the end at gmail.com. Y'all, I love y'all. Okay, you guys take care of yourselves. Please stay safe out there. And until we meet over the airwaves again, I am Mo, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.